And so I was praying, and then, I've only had a few times where I could clearly like hear God speaking to me. And this was one of them. And like, I just heard,
Ryan, dude, what's up, man?
"What's up, man? Good to be here."
Dude, it's awesome to be here. I'm so pumped about this. So, do you realize that it's been 5 years since I met you at that real estate mastermind with Brandon in Hawaii?
It's kind of crazy to think about. It's been a
years.
fast 5 years.
Yeah. Dude, I was thinking like when I met you down there, I want to say back then, that was 2019, you were just flipping houses, right?
Yeah.
Dude, so all this that you've done has happened since then. 5 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And they say like you overestimate what you can do in a year, but underestimate what you can do in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's been crazy to watch what you built here. It's awesome. I love it.
No, it's kind of crazy too, because it was during that mastermind I was talking to investor girl Britt, and we were in a little like mastermind together because we had small groups, and she was like, "You really need to take social media seriously."
Yeah.
And at the time I had like 5,000 Instagram followers, so it wasn't like nobody, but no YouTube, no TikTok, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it made me like, it was kind of like the first seed of like me thinking about it. And then I had other people tell me the following months. And then, I actually hired a videographer at the end of 2019 and, just started to kind of like dabble.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and that was like the catalyst where I was like, well, I've been thinking about this thing. I'm going to just go all in.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Well, I want to cover a number of things with you today. The first thing I want to cover is just how you got started. People love stories. You have a great story.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about your time playing baseball. I want to talk about your couch flipping, then how you got into flipping, rental property or houses, got into the rental game. Then I want to talk about, part 2, how you built all thof businesses.
Yeah.
Then from there, personal finance. I want to hit on like how you're managing your money, financial independence, that kind of stuff. The fourth part of this, I want to talk about mindset and what you've learned along the way. And then last, I would love to talk to you about like what you believe your purpose is in your faith and how that's all played in here. So start us off, man. Tell us how this all got started back with the baseball.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because obviously you're hosting a podcast and I'm like, dang, dude, this dude's got it planned out. My podcast I go into, I'm like, so what's your name? And it's like, we just figured it out along the way. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I've told my story a bunch, but I never really get deep into it anymore. Yeah. But it sounds like, it's something we want to get deeper into. But I grew up playing baseball, so that's all I ever wanted to do. I could care less about real estate or business or any of this other stuff. I was always just an athlete growing up, and I was always really good at whatever I wanted to do. And so baseball was the thing for me. I just it just showed that at a young age I was good. And so throughout high school, I was on varsity as a freshman, the starting shortstop, and then, everybody's talking to you and scouts and all this stuff. You're getting college offers. And so I thought that was always going to be my path. And, college didn't change that. I went to college and I was an All-American. I got to play in the best leagues and, all these accolades. And then I get drafted by the Oakland A's and, I'm living my dream. I'm an adult now and we had just gone through the recession as well. I get drafted in 2010. So like, my family was at an all-time low. My parents lost all their businesses, lost our home, lost everything. And I'm not making any money in the minor leagues. I'm making $1,200 a month. And so it's this really weird time in life. Like I'm at the beginning of my adult life and living my dream, but like everything else around me is like chaos. And so I was just like, I got to make it. I got to make it. I got to make it. That's the only way I'm going to do anything with my life. And that's the only way I'm going to get my parents out of this situation and everything else. And so I think that honestly, that mentality is what did not allow me to get to the big leagues. I ended up playing 8 seasons professionally. I didn't get to the big leagues. My baseball career in 8 years maybe made me not even $100,000 in 8 years of working. So imagine working for a business for 8 years and you don't even make $100,000. Period.
Yeah.
But part of the reason, like I said, was I would put so much pressure on myself to perform because the stakes really were so high. It was like, dude, if you don't make it, this is a cutthroat game. You could be out of it tomorrow. And by the way, dude, you have no other skills.
Yeah.
I didn't. And, you know, my parents would tell me that. And so it was tough, man. When you put that much pressure on yourself, you know, you have anxiety during the games. You have, you know, depression if you're playing bad. You get released. You know, I got released for the first time when I was 23 years old. And it was just like, dang, dude, is anyone else going to even sign me? You know, what's going to happen here? So I had to learn to deal with a lot of problems in my early 20s. And it wasn't until, you know, I got married. And then, by the way, getting married kind of even amplified that because I got married young. I was engaged when I got released by the Oakland A's. And it's like, man, how am I going to even provide for my wife, my soon-to-be wife? I don't have any way of making money. So, yeah, dude, it was a roller coaster playing baseball, to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude, that's rough. I can only imagine. I mean, you know, in high school, I played every sport I could play. That was what my life was centered around. Yeah. And then I didn't go play ball in college. And for me, I had to relearn kind of like, okay, what am I doing next? You know, what's the next thing? Because I always loved business, loved entrepreneurship. But I imagine for you, you're there playing baseball. This is your dream. You probably had your sights set on the majors, right? Yep. And you're just struggling to get to that next level. You talked about, you know, some of the reasons you were struggling, and then you get cut and you're married and newlywed. And like, you know, for a man, you're like wanting to be proud of providing for your wife and your family. And you've got this big dream that you have. And then you get the news that you're cut and you have to like regroup. It's one of those moments. And I think that's why sports is so good for you. It teaches you how to lose and keep going. Yeah. You know what I mean? It toughens you up because it's like, everybody's going to lose. We're all going to lose. We got to figure out how to like regroup, figure it out, and keep moving. And, you know, like if you had kept playing baseball, I don't know if you would have built your businesses and done all this, you know? So
I definitely wouldn't have. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that the struggle, that's a real struggle that people can relate with. Everybody deals with something like that in their life. So let's talk about the couch flipping thing. Yeah. Like, how'd you get into that?
Well, you know, I'm married now and baseball's not looking too great. And so, you know, I get married and I furnish our apartment and we didn't have much money. It was literally all just the gifts from our wedding. Yeah. And so I bought $1,000 worth of furniture, filled the whole apartment, got great deals. And I just remember sitting there thinking, because at the time I was substitute teaching too. And I was making $100 a day substitute teaching. So like literally I would, you know, wake up, go to whatever school for that day needed a sub, go sit there for 6 hours and do nothing. And then like literally just contemplate my life. And then I would leave, go practice, go work out, do the things I got to do because I was still playing baseball. But it was during that 6 hours I was sitting there one day and I was like, dude, I got really good deals on like this furniture. I wonder if I could sell any of it. And it just like the idea just hit me. I was like, I'm going to try like buying another one. So I like it was just in the middle of the day while I was teaching these kids, teaching. And I found a couch and I was texting the guy and he's like, yeah, come pick it up. And I was like, I couldn't even pick it up for like another 4 hours till the shift was over. Yeah. And so I went and got it after the shift. And sure enough, I flipped it for like $200. And I was like, whoa, that was way easier than sitting here for like 12 hours for 2 days. And I was like, and this is actually going to stop me from getting deals because I'm not going to be able to move fast enough. Yeah. So I just quit substitute teaching and just went all in on flipping couches.
Dude, I remember I did substitute teaching once and I was like, these people aren't paid enough. I mean, and in the middle of like a life transition, that's a crazy thing to be doing for like, what was it, $100?
$100 a day.
Not a lot of money. So you get a taste of the couch flipping thing. It works out for you. You're like, wow, I can flip a couch and make exponentially more than I can do doing this substitute thing. And it's fun, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
And so you just started flipping more, right?
Yeah, I bought one. It worked. I literally, with one, I was like, this works. I'm all in. I got a storage unit. I bought a truck. Like, and I mean, look, this was early in my entrepreneurial career. This would be my first successful business. Yeah. And I was like all in from just a little taste of proof. Yeah. Like it was just clear to me that I had this belief. I'm like, dude, I could find a couch a day. This is not going to be hard. And you learn things along the way. Like I learned what couches to buy, what not to buy. I was buying appliances at the time. I learned to stop doing that. I learned how to get multiple storage units. I learned how to get power in the units. I learned how to clean the couches the easiest way. What, to put, like I learned to do copywriting because I was writing these ads on Craigslist and figuring out what titles and SEO. I didn't even know it was called, but I was doing SEO just intuitively.
Yeah.
Because I was like, people are going to search like couch, sofa, sectional. So I'd put it all in the title. So like I was learning all these business skills, not really knowing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was creating great offers too, because I soon learned that everybody wanted free delivery. Like that was the catalyst. And so I started giving free delivery. And I learned to make lowball offers, which would later help me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of funny because I never had like training on how to run a business, but like I look back now and I'm like, bro, I was learning marketing, sales, copywriting, offers, all that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, when you get out there and you're in the grind, building your own business, you learn that stuff. You don't have a head of marketing, head of sales. It's like you are all those things.
Yeah.
And so did you stop doing the substitute teaching or were you still doing that?
Oh, bro, I stopped doing stuff. Like, dude, like I said, I was all in. I just was like, I'm out.
All in. So how much did you make over the next 12 months flipping couches?
Well, you got to remember, I was still gone 6 months out of the year playing baseball.
You're still playing baseball at the same time.
Yeah, so I would only flip couches 6 months out of the year.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I don't remember, like, it was like I made 1,000, then I made 2,000, which already was like more. I was like, 2,000, that's more than I make, period. And then 3,000, then like 6,000, and then I got to 8,000. I was like, holy crap, like literally we are rich.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And
how many couches is that? $8,000. Like, were you making like $100 a couch, $200 a couch?
No, I was making like 200 a couch. 200 a couch. Yeah, that would just be like, 40 couches. It's not a lot.
Nice.
It's like a little over a couch a day.
Yeah. That's some volume though, man. I mean,
it really wasn't, dude. I mean, like I see kids now, they tell me about it all the time, that they flipped couches. And I've met, dude, I can't count how many people I met that make over 6 figures flipping couches.
That's amazing. Yeah. I heard on your episode with Pat Flynn.
Yeah.
You're the godfather of couch flipping, right?
If anybody tries to claim it, they're a liar.
That's yours.
Yeah. If you're going to own something, there are worse things.
Yeah. So you got the bug, you started flipping couch, you started making some good money. Then you moved over to real estate, started flipping houses, right? That was the next thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What was that transition?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started flipping couches in 2013. I got married at the end of 2013. And then 2014, I'm just flipping couches. Then we go on our 1-year anniversary. So October of 2014, I'm on our 1-year anniversary. And I'm praying. I'm like, God, we're in New Orleans. And I'm like, God, what do you want me to do with my life? Like, I've been flipping couches for a year now, and this is great. Like I found a way to provide. I know that this will always be around. So like I could, if that's what it's going to be, I could do this forever and like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We were super frugal. We never like thought we were going to be rich other than baseball. So I was just like, but this is just like not, I know I'm not going to just do this forever. And so I was praying, and then, I've only had a few times where I could clearly like hear God speaking to me, and this was one of them. And like, I just heard real estate, and that was it. And, part of the story is I had gotten my real estate license 5 years prior.
Yeah.
And I had tried being a realtor, and I did it for a couple of years and failed. I didn't even make 6 figures as a realtor. It just was like, I hated it. And so I quit. I literally quit being a realtor to flip couches. And I was really good at flipping couches, and I liked that way more.
Yeah.
So when I heard the word real estate, I was like, man, I ain't like, why?
Yeah.
And then I saw a TV commercial in the hotel, or I should say motel, really. And I saw this TV commercial, and it was like, learn how to flip houses with no money and no credit and no anything. And I was like, well, I fit all 3 of those. That sounds great. But my head was telling me like, nah, dude, it's a scam. Like, that's too good to be true. And at the time, right, there's no like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all these things where the information's so freely available. Like, if I talk to most people, they'd be like, yeah, I've heard of wholesaling. Like, I get it. It wasn't like that 10 plus years ago. So I Google it, And then I find this website called Bigger Pockets, and I start going in their forums, and I see people talking about this wholesaling thing.
Yeah.
I see them talking about hard money loans. And then I see that this guy, Brandon Turner, wrote a book on how to buy real estate with no and low money down. And I was like, maybe there's actually truth to this. And so I bought the book. I literally read it in a day on the vacation. I was like, holy crap, like, I get it. Like, there's private money, there's hard money. And I'm like, I know how to find deals. I always have. Even when I was a realtor, I knew how to find deals. I've always been a hustler.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have money. And so that was literally the one piece I was missing. And so I told my wife on the 1 year, I was like, we're going to flip houses. And she was like, all right, whatever. And I was like, but, here's the thing. We're going to have to, get some credit because I don't know any other people with money. So but we're going to get credit. We're going to apply for cards. We got current cards. We're going to apply for limit increases.
Yeah.
And we're going to just get as much credit as we can. And so I got $50K of credit and ended up maxing them all out and bought my first deal a few months later.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. Like, I remember using credit cards to buy and flip properties, and you got to do what you got to do. Some people that aren't good at balancing that kind of thing would get themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
But you got to know yourself, right?
But those people are going to get in trouble regardless.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be credit.
Yeah, exactly.
If they got cash, they're going to get themselves in trouble.
They're going to get themselves in trouble no matter what.
Yeah.
So you figured out what you had to do to start getting the flips done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was the same way. Like, when I started off on this journey, it's like Bigger Pockets was like a breath of fresh air. It's like, here's what I need. Here's all these resources on how to do all these things that I'm interested in doing. And it helped build my business so much and got me motivated. And I heard you say this the other day on one of your episodes, and I'm the same way. Like, I spent so much time in the car listening to Brandon Turner on Bigger Pockets that when I was actually on Bigger Pockets, it was like a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
Because it was a big deal because Bigger Pockets had such an instrumental impact in my journey as a real estate investor and to building wealth and becoming financially independent.
Yeah.
And so you got the flipping game going. How much did you scale this and over what time period? Like, how many flips were you doing?
Yeah. In 2015, that first year I bought 5 homes. The second year I bought 20. The third year I bought 50. Now, granted, those first 3 years I was still playing baseball.
Oh, wow.
So people don't know that. For most people, like, I did basically my first 80 flips playing baseball.
Yeah. That's
and
crazy.
So when people ask, they're like, dude, like, I can't delegate. I can't hire. Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I literally had no choice. It was either build a business the way, bad business owners build, which is try to do everything yourself. And if I did that, I would have had to quit baseball, which I wasn't willing to do. Because I don't want to say I've never chased money, but money's never been like this thing that I valued so much.
Yeah.
Like, I was completely fine, clearly, making $1,200 a month for 8 years to pursue a dream. I don't know anyone else who can make that claim. I've yet to find it in any form of, doesn't even have to be baseball, but like, I've yet to find one person who told me they chased a dream for no money for 8 years.
Yeah.
You might find it with like artists and musicians and other things.
Yeah.
But I've yet to find any entrepreneurs. So if any are out there, let me know, but I haven't seen them. So for me, I never cared about the money that much. Like, I was content with what we had. And, I had this choice. It was like, all right, you're going to quit baseball and just strictly do house flipping. Or you'll figure out a way to do both. And I was like, I'll do both. Even if the house flipping thing is only a couple a year, like, I would rather do a couple a year and play baseball versus like try and build this thing up. So, and I was also very aware that baseball had a lifespan.
Right.
So I was going to be in business no matter what for the rest of my life at some point.
Yeah.
So I did both. And then, 2017, I got released, and it was actually a relief at that point because I was in my 8th season and I was literally having my worst season. And I was just like so stressed. Yeah. I was making more money than I ever had. And I was stressed because it was like, I'm playing baseball. Clearly, at this point in baseball, I'm just playing for fun.
Yeah.
Like, I knew where my future was going to be. I had like 20 house flips going.
Yeah.
And I'm in another state.
Yeah.
Trying to like compete.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the dugout, I'm in the clubhouse, like typing offers and talking and negotiating. I'm listing properties and different things. So like, eventually they released me because I wasn't, what I had told myself that season was I'm going to just keep playing and then I'm done after the season. But then when they released me, I was like, all right, cool. And then, I didn't quit. I was like, never going to quit. Yeah. And so, I ended up coming home. This is in like August of 2017. And it's funny because I come home and I'm driving home from Fargo, North Dakota to Las Vegas. So this is a 24-hour drive.
Yeah, that's
Bro, I've driven from Vegas to New Jersey. I can't tell you how many bus rides and things I've done in the minor leagues. Because like even to this day, like I still fly Southwest and everything, and I think it's great. And people are like, dude, you ain't gonna get a jet? You gonna do like why not do first class? I'm like, I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
Like I've slept on so many buses my whole life that everything is good.
I love it.
So anyways, but my wife does care. She didn't have to do that. So when I travel with my wife, it's a little different. She's like, we're going to get first class. And I'm like, I know. But if I'm traveling with just me, I'm like, I'll freaking fly. I do not care. So anyways, I'm driving back to Vegas and it literally dawns on me. I'm like, wow, this season of life is over. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to now be full-time in business for the first time ever. So I start getting excited actually that like this new season was starting. And I'm like, dude, if I was doing that with like half effort, what am I about to do? Like being really full-time at this. And so I was like, well, I guess I should start educating myself. Like I educated myself in real estate. Like now I need to educate myself in being a business owner. And so I literally just went to Apple Podcast and looked up like business. And the first podcast I see is this guy, Lewis Howes. And so I didn't know who he was or anything. And I just started listening to this guy's podcast. I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's cool. He used to be an athlete too. And now he's a business guy. And, this is really like this guy I could one day see myself being friends with. Little did I know, like we would become friends. But I listened to his podcast. He's interviewing athletes. He's interviewing business people. And I'm like, this is my kind of like thing. And then I see like a month later that Lewis Howes is coming to Vegas for like this business event. I'm like, oh, sick. So I go to my first ever business event, like at the end of 2017. It's here in Vegas. It's actually run by this guy named Keith Yackey, who was on my podcast like 6 months ago.
Nice.
And we were just laughing about this whole event. And, it was my first experience like as a business owner going to an event. And I remember the one thing I got from that event was somebody said, buy your domain name and buy your name as a domain right now. And I was like, whatever, like I'm nobody, but I'll buy it. And so I looked it up and somebody already owned it, but it was for sale for $900. And I was like, $900? That's a lot of money. I was like, but maybe one day I'll be famous. And so I bought it for $900. And then since then I've bought freaking domains I have a domain buying problem. I've spent it. No, I do. I've spent at least $50,000 on domains.
Whoa, which one?
Like a lot.
Oh, $50,000 total.
Yeah.
What's the most expensive domain you bought?
Wealthyway.com was like $8,000.
I could see that one being expensive.
Wealthyuniversity.com was like 10. Wealthyinvestor.com was like 10. Pineda Capital was like $4,000 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like they add up. But
it's
then I also
Justin out there grabbing them all, and then
I buy them all. Like it's my hobby. So
I'm saying he's grabbing them before you.
Oh yeah, he's flipping them to me.
He's flipping them.
Yeah, no, but I own over like 100 domains. Most are free.
Nice.
Most or whatever. I don't have to buy them.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, like my newest one, I bought Lead Kitchen.
Nice.
So that's our lead generation company for real estate investors. Sweet. I think I paid $3,500.
Nice.
Dude, I just love it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was all I got from that event. So then 2018 hits, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm full-time at this. And it's funny because I went to my first event. It was 10X Growth Con, and a flipper in Vegas, his name's Nick, gave me second row tickets. He was like, I'll give you a $10,000 ticket if you come with me. And then, we just mastermind together every morning and we mentor each other and all this stuff. I'm like, sounds good to me. So I go to this event and I'm like, I had seen this guy Cardone for, on like Bigger Pockets and stuff. I'm like, he's pretty cool. And then like I go to this event, dude, and I kid you not, like this event, this dude walks out like on fire, like the fire just coming out. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Like, I thought this is a business event. This guy's walking out to literal fire. And then I see all these guys come out on stage who I'd never heard before in my life. Cause I come from like the normal world,
right,
where celebrities are like athletes and actors and whatever. Right. And so, I see these guys like Ed Milet and Ty Lopez and Russell Brunson and, literally all these guys. And everybody's going nuts. And I'm in the second row like, what the heck? Who are these people?
Yeah.
And they're like, Ty, let's go, man. And I'm like, dude, this is the weirdest group of people ever. And so every single one of them would tell their story and make a pitch. And at the time, I had never bought education or anything. So I bought Russell Brunson's thing. That was the first thing I ever bought because it was such a good pitch. And I was like, dude, I want to buy it. I don't know why. I don't even know what I'm getting, but I want to buy it because that was just that. I want to know how he made me feel that way.
Yeah.
So I bought it. And then I was in buying spree. Then Ty Lopez pitched something. I was like, I'll buy that too. And then sure enough, I got to understand this world in which these guys were a part of. And I remember sitting there, this was in the Mandalay Bay, and I'm like, dude, all those guys were average dudes. Like, no shade on any of them, but none of them had any kind of resume that I had to that point. I'm like, these guys ain't anything special. They're not like smarter than everyone. They weren't pro athletes. Like literally, there was nothing special about any of them. And I was like, dude, if they could get there, this cannot be that hard.
Yeah.
And and then I looked even at the event and I was like, one day I'm going to throw an event like this and I'm going to be the guy on that stage. That's just where my mentality went. And so, I come back home. Well, I mean, it was in Vegas, so I just literally went home, literally. And I was like fired up. I'm like, bro, and this is just my athlete mentality. I'm like, I'm just going to do what these guys did.
Yeah.
They've told me how to do it.
Yeah, they just showed you.
Yeah, I'm like, it was not hard. So literally, I wrote my first book 2 months later.
Nice.
Flip Your Future. It still sells today. Because Russell Brunson talked about how you're an expert. And at the time, I was like, I don't want to be a guru. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
But I wrote it. I made a course. I did everything within months of going to that conference. And funny story, I know we're talking about real estate investing. We'll talk about education later, but I literally sold one course in a year.
So how much were you selling it for?
$2,000.
$2,000.
Because Russell said, like, you were just going to print money making courses. Right. And like, I didn't print any money. Yeah. So I was like, this is not worth my time. Like I'll flip houses. Like I'll make way more. So, anyways, that year, 2018 was my first full year as an entrepreneur. I flipped 150 homes, made $2 million. I started my education company, which at the time was called Future Flipper. It was huge. We sold one course. What else did I do? I started Forever Home Realty, my brokerage, which later evolved into over 200 agents. So those were what started that year, and then every year thereafter, we would do seven figures, and that led into COVID and the Maui Mastermind and all that stuff. But it's kind of interesting even thinking about the Maui Mastermind in hindsight. I was really like less than 2 years into being a full-time entrepreneur. In my mind, I was still like identifying myself as an athlete. And
Interesting.
It was just like entrepreneurship and business was still like this game to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting point in my journey as well. Like I had just gotten enough traction to start connecting with people and met Brandon and got invited down there to that. But when I got there, I was like, we got guys here like AJ Osborne doing these this massive portfolio, doing these insane deals. And I'm like, man, I'm just doing like the Burr strategy on, 20. I had like $4 million portfolio at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like looking around and I'm like, man, I feel like, how am I here right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that was, Benjamin Lundquist, I follow him and have done some, he does coaching for me, but he always says that, when you find yourself somewhere, don't doubt yourself because God has opened that door for you, and I think about your baseball kind of taking a turn that maybe you probably prayed a lot about baseball. And
Oh,
baseball
yeah.
working out. Hey, God bless this.
Yep. I thought I was going to be Tebow.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, I want to be in the majors one day, you know, doing, you
Yep.
know, making a living at this. And God took you a different direction,
Yeah.
you know, and look where it is now. I mean,
I would have never imagined.
yeah, and you know, I'm imagining back when you're, you know, you've got your flips going on. Dude, I bet you were a popular guy in the dugout because, you know, I know these
Bro,
guys
I was
that are
rich.
These guys that are starving to death.
Oh, yeah.
Playing baseball, and they're like, "Hey, Ryan's over here flipping 30
dude.
houses."
Well, bro, they thought I was rich when I was flipping couches.
Right.
I'm serious. Like I would tell them, like, dude, I'm flipping couches, making this much. They're like, what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
like,
do that when I get back. I was like, bro, it's so easy.
When you're
Just
making
do it.
$1,200, flipping couches is a major upgrade.
Bro, I was
Yeah.
killing it.
Yeah. You get the call, and you know the baseball thing's over, so you're like, now I can go all in
Yeah.
on this business thing.
Ironically, I was so bored with business, even as things were growing. I started coaching high school baseball.
Oh, did you? Sweet.
Yeah, I
Cool.
coached 2 years in high school baseball. So I would leave the office every day. So this is like what people don't get. When I tell them, I'm like, hey, I leave the office at 5. I actually have done it like even more extreme. 2017, 2018, I coached high school baseball because I just was like, I missed the game and I just really loved giving back. And
Yeah.
so I walked, our old office used to be across the street from a high school. It's called Spring Valley. And I literally just walked over there and I was like, hey, this is my track record. I've played 8 seasons and I want to coach for you guys. And it's free. Like, you don't have to do anything. I just want to give back. He's like, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, you got to go through like all this background check and all this bull crap. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
I was like, freaking just tell me what to do. I'll just do it.
Yeah.
And I got it done in like 2 weeks. And he was like, that's the fastest I've ever seen anyone get it done. And I'm like, why are people the way they are?
Yeah.
Like, it just, things don't even register in my head why people take so long to do anything.
Yeah.
So anyways, I coached high school baseball for 2 years. So I would leave the office every day at about 2:00 because practice was every day at 2. Actually, I would leave at like 1.
Yeah.
So my point with all this is like, if you have, you can do a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely can, especially if you're focused, right? And you're driven.
Yeah.
There's one thing I want to hit on before we move on to all the businesses you've built and what you're currently doing. How are you flipping 150 houses a year? What was your system? Were you doing all this by yourself? Like, you're finding the leads?
Yeah.
You're like, did you build a team out, or was that all you
No, I
doing
built
everything? How are you funding all these?
Man. I mean, look, I look back at everything now with hindsight and I'm like, first it was like, I just thought I was really skilled. And then I look back and I'm like, dude, like clearly God had his hand on everything to allow me to meet the right people at the right moment, to, have the discernment to say yes to some things and no to other things. And there's definitely favor on everything, and even to this point. But what I'll say is early on, I did everything myself. So I was literally the project manager, the listing agent, the guy finding the deals, the guy raising the money. And that's what I did for maybe the first couple of years. And then I hired one guy and I said, you start checking on the flips. You list the flips. And so I took off the 2 pieces that I hated and I just only focused on deals. And so I did 50 deals with just one guy and played baseball. So then that 2018, when I decided to go full-time in business, I was like, all right, like, let's hire people. Let's do this like big. So I hired cold callers like in the States. I hired like 6 of them. I hired a dispo person. I hired an appointment guy and listing agent, project manager. Yeah. So like the team was like 7, 8 people. And I didn't really have a job. It was just to oversee everything.
Yeah.
So, they were all the ones getting deals. Eventually what I was doing at that point was relationships. So wholesalers, I was still doing the MLS deals. Eventually later that year, I passed off my MLS like searches and everything else. I taught someone else to do it. And so he started doing all my MLS deals. And then eventually the next year, I think I probably passed off all my wholesaler relationships, all my lender relationships. And I said, you start, funding the deals and getting them squared away with the lenders.
Yeah.
You start maintaining these relationships with wholesalers and realtors. Like, I don't want to have to be responsible for any one thing.
Yeah. So was this team you built, were they all contractors, or did you have anybody on salary, or how did you structure that with them?
I mean, we did everything the wrong way. I mean, they were employees for sure, but they were 1099 and
1099. Gotcha. Yeah. I figured that seems like the way I would set it up if I were in that situation. So
yeah, I mean, look, people could hear that now and be like, oh, it's like, bro, you just do business and you figure it out later.
Yeah. You do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you figure it out.
They're like, did you set up an LLC for your couch flipping? Did you like do this? I'm like, no, it was all cash money. Like, what do you freaking, it's Craigslist.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
you're out in the trenches. You're just trying to get stuff done. Right.
Yeah. People overthink little crap.
Yeah. So now let's transition. So we heard about the baseball, the house flipping, the couch flipping. Now you're at a point where 150 flips a year.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these businesses you've built and how you scale these businesses and structure these businesses. Tell us about your businesses right now.
Well, since that point, I've had a lot of businesses I've started, some that I've sold, some that I've shut down, some that freaking went sideways. So, for me, like I now with hindsight, like I just look back at it and I'm like, wow, I've really only been an entrepreneur for like a full-time one for like still 5-6 years. It's like not even that long. And I'm like, it's interesting that I was willing to try basically everything.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of who I am.
Yeah.
It's like, who tries flipping couches when it's not a thing? Who tries to go play baseball and flip? Like, only a maniac is willing to try all these things. And that's exactly what I did. And so I'm glad I did. Even though you got to deal with the failures and different things of ones, that leads to figuring out the successes.
Sure.
And, I've realized too, these venture capital companies, there's a reason that they invest in like 100 businesses because they know that only a few of them actually are going to work out.
Yeah.
And they're going to pay off big.
Yeah.
And I learned that from baseball too. It's like fail 7 out of 10 times, you win big.
Yeah.
You make 99 cold calls and, it takes 99% of them saying no to, get one. So I understand like you have to just get at bats. You literally do. Yeah. And so I've never been afraid to take at bats and just launch and just figure it out along the way. And then if you got something, great. If you don't, man, like it's all good. Like live with it, live with the consequences, it's all good. So yeah, as it stands today, I really have, let's just call it 4 core things going on. Even though I've had much more in the past. The 4 core ones would be I still flip in wholesale. So we do that at a high level. Still 100 plus deals a year. I think we'll probably do 200 plus this year. So we got that. That's my longest tenured business. I can't believe I'm entering year 10 of that business, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
And it's just been doing it every year ever since. And I don't put a lot of effort into it. We got the education business. So, we throw our events, we got our coaching programs, we got our communities, we got lots of stuff going on in the education business. Then I have, and I guess with the real estate, I'm counting like the rentals and fund and Airbnb and all that stuff, like just real estate investing as a whole as one. Then you have education as a whole, because we have social media education, we have real estate education. Like if I was to part them all out, I mean, there's a lot more, but let's just say there's the education bucket. Then you have, the media side of things, which I would say is its own thing. So, the Ryan Pineda brand. And so obviously we put a lot of time into that and the podcast and all that. And then the 4th business would be this new one with Lead Kitchen. So that's the newest. We started it, officially launched to the public 2 weeks ago. And I'm more excited about that business than any of them because I think it's going to easily be the biggest. I think it's going to be my first real big sellable business. So I'm excited about that, and because of just like it's led from all of these skills over the last decade, allowing me to do it. So those are the businesses, and then on the nonprofit side, which we could talk about like in the 5th section for purpose, we have Wealthy Kingdom, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot of businesses to be operating. I mean, I have 3 businesses, and it's a lot.
Yeah,
and you've got a lot more going on. That you obviously have a big team working here with you. How did you approach building your team to build these businesses? I know you talked about, when you flipped 150 houses, you started forming a team there.
Yeah.
And you were working on the business, not in the business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you structure all this, and how are you not pulled 1,000 different ways and not able to get anything done, basically?
I mean, there's a lot that allows it to happen. Okay, so if I was to start from step one always begins with you yourself as this person who's making this new commitment to hiring people. You got to understand that trust is involved. You got to understand that they're going to fail. They're going to mess up. They're not going to do it as good as you. And just know that going in, right? It's like in baseball. I know I'm not going to get a hit every time. I accept that. It's just part of the process. Where I think most business owners fail is they don't accept that.
Yeah.
They let this dude screws up one time and it's just like the end of the world. You know, like our media we just had a meeting right before this podcast, and for 45 minutes, I basically gave them the business. I'm like, guys, this was screwed up. This was screwed up. This was screwed up. This was screwed up. And this doesn't happen often, but like I'd seen it in the last week, just like too much crap falling through the cracks. And I'm like, explain to me what you think your minimum standard is for what you should be doing. And he didn't know. And I'm like, that's the problem. And so that's just part of it, being a business owner, is knowing that people are going to screw up, and you got to have grace to correct them and help them and get that squared away. And, you know, even with that, right, you got to constantly remind people that they're going to, like, get them back on track.
Yeah.
Because, you know, inevitably, they're gonna fix everything I just told them. But inevitably, something's going to happen again where things might get a little too comfortable, or something will happen. It's like, guys, we got to be reminded again. So anyways, mindset's got to be correct on hiring. Second thing would be, all right, you know, this is a whole process in itself. Building core values, company culture, your hiring process. Do you use, you know, personality tests? Do you use skills assessments? Where are you sourcing your talent from, right? You know, people who say they can't find good deals are the same people who say they can't find good talent. It's all just based on marketing. You know, if I have a great brand, I can attract better talent, point blank. And then understanding that people work for two different reasons, a financial paycheck and an emotional paycheck. And so if you have no emotional thing with your company, and, you know, people don't feel appreciated, or people don't understand the mission, then you're going to have to overpay financially to get them there, to keep them there, right? And so I always use this example for people. I'm like, dude, why do you think in sports you see like these big name guys go play for a team at a discount? The emotional paycheck. They want to win a championship. They're like, bro, I want to be a part of something bigger. I will take a discount to go win the championship. And so, you know, that's because that team built a great company. They built a great culture. And so it's like, if I can do the same, you can get better talent for cheaper prices because they're getting rewarded in other ways.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we don't pay people well. We do. We still pay them fair market.
Yeah.
But I don't have to overpay for people, right? Like I've had people like, dude, yeah, like this is what it's going to cost to get me. And I'll be like, it's all good. Go get it from someone else.
Yeah.
Because I just have a bigger pool of talent I can pull from. Like I will get somebody who will do it, you know, just as good as you for half the price, whatever the case is, right? So anyways, you know, those things come into play. And then obviously, like I was just talking about before, continuing to hold them accountable, continuing to develop them, right? Like I really 1000% believe that we do a great job developing talent. And so like most of the things that I've learned have literally come from the sports world. You know, I just watched the most successful organizations. Being an employee of the organization, I got to see, man, this organization has great facilities. They treat their players good. They have great coaches. They have great staff. They give them all the resources to keep developing and growing. They're fair. If somebody's performing good, they're going to reward them and move them up a level. And then, you know, you have bad organizations where that's not the case. They treat them like crap. They have no resources, you know, and you just see it in baseball and sports overall. It's like, dude, there are teams that are just always good at developing talent. They identify good talent in the draft, They're good at developing that talent. They're good at keeping that talent. And, it's just like, dude, business is the exact same way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good analogy with this, and I know you played for the A's. Did you ever run across Billy Beane?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Moneyball is one of my favorite movies. And I have a friend that I played ball with in high school, Josh Willingham.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing for the A's. But I saw him last week.
I think he was there when I was there. Yeah.
Was he? Awesome.
Yeah.
I was wondering if y'all were there at the same time. But he spent a while in the minors.
Oh, yeah.
He
was a late bloomer.
Yeah. And then he got up to
He was at the Marlins.
Yeah, yep. He was with the Marlins and the Nationals and ended up with the Royals playing the World Series some, but won a Silver Slugger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was asking him about Billy Beane, and he said Billy Beane was exactly like the movie represented, but he was like great at spotting value.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. Like right now, the A's are probably like bottom barrel. Nobody wants to play for the A's.
Right.
It just is what it is. Like, that you're going to get traded.
Yeah.
They have literally the worst stadium in sports. They have no attendance. Their fans hate them now.
Just like the movie.
Their owner sucks. Like, everything about it sucks.
Yeah.
And so why Billy Beane gets cast good is because he's like, despite having such terrible resources,
right,
he found ways to still win.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But hopefully moving to Las Vegas changes things. Like, so obviously I am super grateful for the A's drafting me, and I'm super grateful that they're moving to Vegas. Maybe one day I'll own them. You never know.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
That would be full circle.
That would be the irony of ironies right there.
But I can tell you, if I did ever own them, I would do the exact same things I'm talking about in business. I would treat the players, everything way different than the way that they've been run the last 15 years.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So identify your first hire when you're going to build the business. Get the right person in the door, then empower them to do their job. Don't have unrealistic expectations of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Know that they're going to screw stuff up.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you can't think they're going to be perfect. They're not going to bat 1,000, right? And then if you get the right person in and you give them the tools they need to build the business, then they can go and do that, and you can go focus your attention on something else, and then continue to train, improve the processes. With the analogy of the sports thing, it's like, we're just going to try to surround ourselves with the best talent we can with what we have, get better, take as many swings as we can, get our batting average up, and score some runs that way. Yeah. So, what is if you don't mind me asking, what is the yearly revenue of all of it?
Dude, I haven't even looked.
Or what would you guess it is?
Well, last year's a tough year, man. Last year was my worst year ever financially. Just because, 23 with the real estate industry, I had all these flips going in 22 that didn't sell at the end of 22, and then rates rose. I mean, I had like 50 flips when things switched. Yeah. When they raised rates and everything else, and then 22 hits, and you bring all these properties over to 23, and then all of a sudden prices have dropped. Yeah. And dude, I had to lose a few million on just bad deals. Thankfully, the other businesses had income coming in. Yeah. Thankfully, we were wholesaling to offset losses. Sold off some rentals, other things. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't even really know. Honestly, it was like such a rough year that I'm like, I'm just like freaking, my mindset's already gone from it. But yeah, I would say this year we'll probably end up somewhere around maybe 15 to 20 million in revenue. That's great across the businesses. And it's up and down. The Fed intentionally squashed the real estate market. Yeah. So those of us who work predominantly in real estate, we're going to feel the pain from it. Yeah. So if you got 150 flips going and rates go through the roof, and they freeze the housing market, that's going to hurt, and you're going to lose some money there. But you got to be in the game to win the game, right? So if you're not in the game, you're not going to experience those time periods where it gets tougher. You're also not going to get the upside to it that we got in like 2021 when everything was going insane. Yeah. So awesome. Well, okay, so we've talked about how you got started. We've talked about building your businesses. Now let's talk about financial independence and your personal finance.
the way you handle the personal finance side of all this with your own wealth. How long did it take you from starting in real estate and flipping couches, whatever you want your start point to be, to reach financial independence?
Financial independence is an interesting thing. I don't think I'm financially independent. Like, I think I have to work the rest of my life.
Gotcha.
I think that the idea of retirement, first and foremost, is not biblical. I think that people just have this idea that, like, oh, when I hit my financial freedom number, then I can do whatever I want and chill and whatever. It's like, at no point in the Bible is that ever like a thing. Like, nobody is ever encouraged to not work.
Yeah.
Also, too, nobody's encouraged to do nothing.
Sure.
And just for me, it's like, I need to make as much money as humanly possible to fund all the other stuff I want to do. Sure. Like, personally, my life's fine. Like, I've had everything I've ever wanted, even when I was flipping couches. Like, I would have considered myself, if we're going off that term, like, financially independent. Like, I'm just fine.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people look at financial independence, and maybe this is the way you're asking too, is like, do you have enough passive income to, cover your lifestyle? Is that the way you're asking it?
Yeah. So the way I'm approaching it, and I totally agree, like, I don't plan to ever retire like some people think of it.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy working.
Yeah.
Financial independence to me is enough income coming in from your investments to cover over your monthly expenses.
Yeah. So even with that, right? Once again, I always say this, but I'm like, dude, rental properties don't freaking like do anything. Rental properties definitely ain't covering my expenses.
Right.
Because, dude, my expenses are a lot. My expenses, I've cut them down when times got tougher, but they were anywhere from 50 to 100K a month.
Yeah.
And, dude, to have cash flow of 100K a month from rental property specifically, bro, I don't even know how much real estate you'd have to own to truly cash flow that.
Sure.
100%.
Sure.
You'd probably need, I don't know, $50 million of like 100% owned real estate and like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So the way I've always approached it is just like, can I build businesses that don't really require me?
Right.
And that's kind of like how I look at cash flow.
Yeah.
So when I look at my house flipping company, where I put very little effort into, and historically, besides 2023, it's been a cash cow.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
to me, that's financial independence.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
That would count in my book.
Okay.
That's a business.
Yeah.
Kicking off cash where you're not spending all your time doing it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, in that front, I felt like, in 2018, I wasn't like super involved with it.
Yeah.
And it was putting out good money.
Yeah.
More than enough to live on.
And you started at what year?
2015.
So 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty fast. And that's the benefit of owning a business, right? When you build a business, you get that cash flow.
And that's kind of my point that I harp on a lot in my videos, because people might think I'm anti-rentals.
Yeah.
We manage over 600 rentals, so I'm not anti-rental.
Right.
I'm anti-thinking that rentals are going to make you financially free. Like, in most cases, they're not. And they might make you there in freaking 20 years, because it's just like, dude, for one, there's just no cash flow today, period, on like normal long-term rentals. So if I go buy a house in Vegas, it's like, it ain't cash flowing. So now what, right? Okay, if you go to the Midwest and you go get some houses that make you $300 a month, like, cool. You need 50 of them.
Yeah.
At least, for like a normal person. If you want to be a baller, you need 200 of them. And so it's like, who's getting, like, first off, somebody who's trying to get financial independence already doesn't make a lot of money in most cases. They're just like already thinking, okay, I'm getting closer. It's like, bro, you need so much active income to even buy enough assets. So even now, I've thought about this too, and I'm like, all right, what would be like the true financial freedom thing? In my mind, it would be, okay, because like my businesses can go sideways or bad or good, like depending on the market, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
like, to me, and then like the stock market could do that too if you have like a bunch of cash in stocks, right? So I'm like, okay, the only true like safest thing is you can go get like 5% on your money right now,
Sure.
like in money markets and things. And so let's just say you had something else and actively investing it. So it's like 7%. So it's like, all right, what would I need? I would need like, let's just say 15, 20 million cash sitting at 5% to kick off, $1 million a year to like really do that.
To really cover all the expenses.
Yeah, but then if you have a 10 million cash, 20 million cash, you're like it's not sitting there.
Yeah.
Because we all know we can make more than 5%.
Right.
So we're going to go actively put in. So then you're back in the same boat of just like actively doing crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's my point. Is like the Robert Kiyosaki and even the Bigger Pockets idea that we grew up with of like rental properties equals financial independence, in my mind, is just not true for 99% of people. Building a business can get you there far quicker, far faster, and make you far more money. And by the way, maybe not a wholesaling business, but other businesses are worth way more than the rental portfolio would be worth.
Yeah, I think the point you're making is that rental properties are one of the slowest ways.
They are the slowest way.
Comparing them to building a business or flipping or like we built up a rental portfolio using the BRRRR strategy.
Yeah.
And the thing that made my family financially independent was the millions in equity that we gained. When we sold that portfolio, moved that all into these vacation rental cabins.
Yeah.
The cash on cash return went through the roof, and we unlocked all that equity.
Yeah. How long did it take?
That took about 5 years total.
And then during the 5 years of building it, would you say that you were living large?
Oh, no. It was a total grind.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a total grind. But 5 years is pretty fast.
No, it is.
My
point is, like, when people buy, like you did it like the best possible way you could, right?
And the point that you're making is something that I want to point out what I'm saying as well. The single families weren't making us enough to be even close to financially independent.
Yeah.
We just had barely. I felt like a lot of months it was just breaking even because of all the repairs constantly.
Most times you're going to lose.
Yeah. And in the months where it wasn't, we had a few $1,000s. It's like, well, we've got, between $2 and $4 million of equity, and this is making like $50,000 a year profit.
Yeah,
the cash on cash was terrible.
Yeah.
The return on equity was terrible.
Right.
We had gotten all our cash out because of the BRRRR strategy, but the return on equity was bad. When we sold that, moved into vacation rentals, the cash on cash went way up. That made us financially independent. But we had to take that next step before that worked. But if we had just held the single family rentals, I wouldn't be nearly where I am right now with my own wealth creation process. So,
but even with like my point too, what'd you do for the 5 years? How'd you actually make money then?
Well, I was doing appraisal, I was doing brokerage and flipping houses as well.
Okay. So like business.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
So that's the point, right?
Totally.
Like people just need to understand you will not just buy rentals and be rich.
No, I think to supercharge the whole thing, you have to get your income up while you're buying your assets, right?
There's no rich person who does not have high income.
Right. And getting your income, and that's the thing that if you gloss over that, it's going to take you a long time to build wealth.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have any money to invest, it's you don't have that dry powder.
They'll say, but Josiah, dude, I thought I could buy houses with no money. I could just take people's mortgages. I could just do I could borrow private money and do it's like, bro, whatever.
Yeah, it's like you and I have both bought houses without our own money, but we also know you got to have reserves, right?
You got to have reserves, and you kind of like have to live.
Right. Yeah, you have to live and all that other stuff. So, what about your personal wealth? Your personal, like the cash you have. You have all these businesses. You have real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you invest? Do you have stocks? You like stocks? You have crypto, Bitcoin? Like what's your you're making such a, I mean, I have no idea what kind of cash on cash return or IRR you get on your own investments in your business. It's got to be high because you're growing fast.
Yeah.
But what do you think of diversification? Like, do you put your money in the markets?
Well, I think it's important to understand the different stages because, for example, I have a friend who's worth $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's exited for 100, and he puts his money, 100 million cash, with a fund manager, and it spits off 8% a year, $8 million.
Yeah.
So it's like that's actually the best move for him. Like, what's the point? Like he doesn't need to do anything else.
Right.
Like, does he need to go freaking build a business or go invest in real estate? Like, sure he could, but why?
Yeah.
So anyways, I think it's important to know where each person's at in each stage. So I'll just walk you through the stages of how they've developed. So when I first started, right, you start with no money. And so the number one thing you can invest in is you. So
Agreed.
And I just tell people this all the time. I'm like, I don't care if you buy my stuff or not. You have to learn skills.
Yeah.
If you don't learn skills, who cares? Because they're like, freaking, man, I got a couple $1,000. I'm going to invest in this mutual fund, or I'm thinking about buying my first rental maybe. And they spend all this time on trying to get 12% or 15%. I'm like, bro, what's 15% of $2,000?
Right.
It's $300. You're broke. Who cares?
Yeah.
Put the $2,000 into you. You should dump every dollar you have into you. Because if I teach you how to flip houses, right? Somebody teaches you how to go build a business, or somebody teaches you how to create content that makes you money. That $2,000 you spend into you turns into $20,000, $50,000. Like, what's the return on you?
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyone listening to this in your early stages, you're like, but then I don't have money. Dude, if you learn the skills, you learn how to make money. You don't need to quit investing your money in trying to make other people make you money.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, you have to make money yourself. That's the only way to get rich. Other people make you money once you are rich. That's the difference. So all these private money guys I try to get to fund my deals, they're already rich. So I make them money because I'm doing all the work.
Yeah.
But that's because I have skills. But, when you're starting out, you got to get skills. Okay, so now what happens? Once you have skills, you literally invest every dollar you have in whatever that one skill is. So maybe you are a stock trader. Maybe you are in real estate. Maybe you're just a normal business owner. I get business owners all the time who are like, bro, I made a couple $100,000 this year, and I want to put it in real estate. And I literally tell them, and this is not even good for me, but I'm like, why? And they're like, well, I got extra cash. This is what I should do. I'm like, why are you not putting that back into your business? If this business is already doing good and it made you a couple $100,000, let's make $1 million. Like, you could give me your $200,000, and I'm not going to deny it if you really want to. Okay. But like, why wouldn't you just put it back into the business? Because that's going to make you way more money than a real estate investment or stocks or whatever. That industry. You've clearly built something. Throw some rocket fuel on it. So I think whatever it is that's making you money, you need to triple down on it and invest back into it, not other stuff. So then once you're now like tripling down and you're making, okay. And so let me relate this back to myself. I learned how to flip houses. Every dollar I get is reinvested into the next house flip. That's how I went from 5 to 20 to 50. I was literally taking every dollar back into more flips. So then, I started raising private money, and I don't personally have to put up all the money anymore because I was literally maxing out credit cards, my own cash. I didn't have any private lenders for a long time. So then I'm like, oh, well, now I do have excess cash. What do I do with this? So I start buying rentals. And so I didn't buy rentals for at least my first 50, 60, 70 deals because I was just investing back into my business. Flipping was my business. So then I started buying rentals. I bought my first Airbnb in 2017, way before Airbnb was cool.
Yeah.
In vacation towns. Like, I saw an opportunity and I'm like, this sounds good. So, I started investing money into rentals. So then I started investing into hiring more people. I started investing into other things like computers and other crap that you don't think you need when you're building a business. And you're like, crap, man, this dude don't even have a computer. Like, we got to get headsets. We got to get, all this stuff. This new position is going to cost us $100,000 a year. Where's that coming from? So, I invested in rentals. I, reinvested in my business. Then this social media thing came along and I'm like, well, dude, I need to invest into my brand. This is a whole new thing. So now it's like, I got this big budget for production that I never had that before. Mm-hmm. And by the way, my brand ain't going to bring any money in today, when you're first starting.
Sure.
So I just knew that I was going to invest into myself again, essentially. And I wasn't expecting a return for a long time, but I just knew it was smart long-term. And so part of that was building out sets, buying equipment, like so much went into that.
Yeah.
So, I invested it, let's just say other business opportunities and other ways to grow. And then, let's see what happened. Then I've invested in other things. You asked about crypto. So I've invested millions into crypto before. Currently, I'm not in crypto at all. I do believe, though, that Bitcoin and everything else are going to be, really high within the next 12 months. It's just personally, I got other opportunities and things that are more important. So, if you were to ask me, hey, Ryan, what, do you invest in today? Well, one, it's actually not rentals right now because they don't pencil. Like, you just look at it and I'm like, so what rentals am I supposed to buy again?
Yeah.
Like they're not penciling.
Right.
The other part was too, in 2023, because I had to take losses, I didn't need to go buy rentals to like offset my income.
Right.
So it's like, all right, well, the rates suck right now. Rentals suck right now. Why am I buying rentals again?
Right.
Yeah. And so the same thing is true in 24. It's like, it's still just not like this thing I'm focused on.
Yeah.
But in 21, 22, even 20, I was buying a lot of rentals. And it was cool because even when 23 happened, guess what? I had all these rentals that had appreciated millions and millions of dollars. And so I've been selling some of them off, and like that helped offset the losses.
Yeah.
So, and that was a good time to offset loss because, then I'm not paying a gain
Exactly.
on, recapturing depreciation
Yep.
and all these other things. So strategically, it was smart to sell off. But anyways, as it stands today in 2024, what am I investing in? Really, I'm investing in getting my cash reserves back up. I believe that, cash reserves are what got me through the storm.
Yeah.
I had a lot of cash reserves, and I had way more, just like I didn't expect the economy to do what it did.
Right.
And it's like, I'm lucky I did. And so now I'm like, well, if we're bigger now, the next storm will inevitably be bigger.
Yes.
If and when it happens. So I'm like really more so focused on having a good cash reserve. And
smart.
I think a lot of people don't think about that because they're always like, oh, what's my cash making me today?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what helps me sleep at night?
Yeah.
you know?
No, there's a value to the peace that, not having certain stressors in your life will bring. And cash reserves help you sleep at night.
Oh yeah.
Cash is king. Like when you don't have enough cash reserves, that's how you get put out of the game completely. And to your point, it's like,
I could have all the assets in the world, but
Right.
if I run out of cash, I'm toast.
yeah. And, when they jacked interest rates up so fast, it puts a squeeze on all the people running all these real estate businesses.
Oh, bro, so many people got wiped out.
Oh yeah. And, from flipping houses to loan officers to,
Realtors, commercial, everybody.
Appraisers, whoever it is, like transaction volume's gone down. Some values have compressed in certain asset classes, like office is a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Right. And so then, a lot of these commercial assets are coming up for renewal, and it's like, they're about to go from 4.5% to 7.5%.
Yeah.
And they're already barely making money.
Yeah. Insurance premiums went through the roof in commercial.
Yeah. And then they're getting, they're getting capital calls to do their refinance. They don't have the money.
Yep.
So, this is why, looking at your cash on cash return isn't always the only thing to look at.
Yeah.
Right. It's, how's my business going to survive? How am I going to sleep at night?
Yeah.
How am I going to make it through?
Yeah.
So,
And like I said, I've always been transparent with everything I've done. It's like, even as much success we had, and you can see that, like, obviously we still got people, we're still doing fine. It was really the last, call it almost 2 years where I've just been in like, you know what? It's wartime.
Yeah.
This is not like, this is not expand time. This is grind time.
yeah.
You got to cut out the crap that doesn't make sense. You've got to double down on the things that do. You got to test and try new things to figure out where the future is going to be. And so I spent a lot of money testing, especially in marketing.
Yeah.
You also asked like where money goes to. It's like, dude, every wealth con, it costs like $500,000 to throw it. So you have to like front a lot of stuff. And then there's marketing and there's other things. So it's like, there's a lot. And then, I still flip. So, there's money in flips.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Dude, by the way, I really enjoyed WealthCon. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I cannot imagine how much goes into planning and all the logistics of that.
Yeah.
So
the team kills it.
yeah, that was awesome. Okay, well that's, and that it is a war. I mean, right now it's a war running your business in this environment.
1,000%.
It is
Anyone tells you differently, they're lying.
Yeah, they are 100%. So let's transition next into the mindset that you've developed to build all these businesses, to deal with like the war that you're dealing with,
Right.
running your businesses. How have you developed mental toughness, and have you used coaches, courses, books, just figuring it out as you go? Like, what's your process for just developing yourself mentally to do all this?
I think once again, it's kind of like personal finance. It comes in stages.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you're broke and you're just getting started, like for me, I was watching content, I was listening to podcasts, reading books, all that stuff. I find myself doing that way less frequently today.
Yeah.
From there, I bought mentorships. I
Yeah.
got into masterminds. I did all that stuff. Today, I actually find myself doing that less.
Yeah.
Today, what I find myself doing, because of the platform I've built, is like I just have so many relationships now with literally the best in the world.
Yeah.
And so like whenever I do encounter whatever problem or decision I'm making, I can just text them.
Yeah.
And like I get the instant feedback. And it was like things I used to have to pay for, I no longer do. And I've used this example a lot because it just made such a big impact on me. But it was like a couple of months ago, I had Russell Brunson in here. It's like, dude, I bought this guy's thing back in 2018, and like, he had hit me up and he was like, bro, like, I want to actually see what you're doing on social media. I want to learn from you. And I was like, bro, come through. Let's film a pod and like, let's just hang. And he's like, all right. And so it was funny. Like, I'll never forget this. I was like, so how long do you have? Like, when's your flight? All that. And he's like, I have as long as you'll give me. I'm like, as long as I'll give you? You mean like, I was like, bro, if you're going to be, I'll be here all day.
Yeah.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
We'll knock out He's like, all right, cool. And so it's like, I laugh at it because that's literally what it is now with everything, I could hit Cardone up. I could hit his team. I could hit Andy Elliott or Jeremy Miner or any of these sales guys. If I have a sales problem, I can hit up any digital marketer. I could hit up athlete. Like, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Where things are at now. So I think like at some point you evolve past, if you're lucky, very few will, but like you go into now like the peer stage where you learn from peers because you're at that level with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think, the concept of being a product of the 5 people you spend the most time with, just surrounding yourself with those people that are going to sharpen you, make you better.
Yeah.
And you've built this incredible group of peers that you're learning from. You can take your problems to, bounce things off of.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the number of like resources people like Grant Cardone have with just like,
it's not really fair. I mean, it's just like, and what's interesting about it? And so, I should also put like pastors and other things into that bucket. But like, I still do pay for education and stuff, but it's not for me. So like, I'll send my guys off to like a COO training. Like my COO's in COO coaching.
Yeah.
The media guys will be like, dude, we kind of want to do this thing. I'll be like, all right, go. So like now I'm like giving them what they need because I myself can go get what I need with different people.
Yeah.
So it's this whole new thing, but
what would you tell someone that is back in the stage where you were playing baseball and they're wanting to develop mental toughness and build their own business? What would you tell them to do? How would you advise them to better themselves and prepare themselves to grow like this?
I mean, dude, honestly, this is going to sound harsh, but they need to just quit being soft and do it. I mean, like, too many people I meet, I'll be like, hey, this is what you should do. And they'll be like, but that maybe after I get past this thing in my life or that thing in my life. And I'm like, bro, never mind. I'm serious. It just, I can already tell you're soft and there's nothing else I can say to you that will not make you soft. And so you just got to make a choice to be a man and not be soft. And so it's like, dude, when I wanted to flip houses, it wasn't this thing of like, well, I play baseball and I just got married and, this couch flipping thing is, I just started it. Maybe I should just, it's like, no, bro, like I'm going to flip houses.
Yeah.
I'm going to go apply for the credit card right now. Like, oh, bro, I want to coach your high school team. What do I got to do? Okay, I'm going to go fill it out right now.
Yeah.
Like the most successful people I know are right now kind of people.
Yeah, for sure.
And does that get you into trouble sometimes? Sure. But the results are way more, there's way more pros than cons.
Yes.
To being a right now kind of guy.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's the start messy, put your minimum viable product out there.
Yeah, dude.
Get feedback, iterate, put it back out there.
Bro.
If you wait until it's
But what
perfect,
about my logo?
Yeah.
What do you think of my website? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Let me just tell you how I started Lead Kitchen, okay? So this is me being an all-in guy.
Tell us what Lead Kitchen is first.
Okay. Well, I'll just start from the beginning, and then it'll make sense how it got there. So the last 10 years, I've been flipping houses, and I've done every marketing you can imagine. I've spent millions and millions on all forms of marketing. Well, I just noticed that everything's getting freaking really expensive.
Yeah.
I'm like, TV's expensive, PPC's expensive. Cold calling is getting harder and harder because whatever, not the FTC, one of these freaking things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, where's this all go? Where do you get a return if all of them are becoming more expensive and more competitive? And it just occurred to me, I was like, dude, social media. Like everybody is on social media. Sellers are on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I have yet to hear many people ever having success on like Facebook ads or anything for sellers. They're always like, it sucks. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, yeah, that's because everyone sucks. No, like how many people are actually good at social media? Right? There's only a few real estate investors. You'd be like, yeah, they're really good on social media.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because social media actually requires skill. PPC requires no skill. Freaking cold calling requires no skill. It's effort. It's not skill, right? Now, closing is a skill, but like the terms of getting a lead, cold calling is just volume. How many dials can you freaking make and do it, right? TV commercials. I never changed my commercial in 4 years. We just let it run and we get leads. That's crazy when you think about it because in the social media world, if I don't make content today and I don't make content for a week or a month, I'm irrelevant.
Right.
And my ads, I have to constantly change my ads every week. I'm filming ads every week to keep my cost per lead down. And so like when I thought about it, I was like, that's why they don't succeed. They just don't even understand what's necessary to be successful. And so I go, social media is not the problem. It's just everyone sucks. So let me try doing it myself because I know what to do. I've already spent millions running ads for WealthCon, running ads for everything, millions in organic content. Like if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be me. So in January, I start running ads and I start out just going nationwide and dude, I'm getting like inbound leads for $20. And I'm like, this is crazy. So we're locking up all these deals. And then I soon find out that like we can't sell them, even though they look like great deals. Because they're just in rural areas that freaking there are no buyers at. So I waste 2 months doing that and all this money. You ask where my money goes. I freaking waste it trying things. So then
R&D.
It really is. It really was.
Yeah.
And so then I said, hey, let me go to tier 2 markets. For some reason, it didn't even think in my mind to do Vegas because I just got so pissed at how costly Vegas leads were getting with these other sources. So anyways, I go and I do tier 2 markets. So I'm in San Antonio. I'm in Kansas City. I'm in, all these other places. And I'm getting leads for like $60, $70. And I'm like, dang, this is cheap. I mean, I was paying $500 plus a lead for Vegas. And these are not like small markets like the rural problems I was having before. So anyways, we lock up deals again over the phone. We're selling some, but we're still having similar problems being virtual. One, we just don't know the market. Like it looks like a good deal to us, but apparently, in Vegas, people are good at like 80% of ARV. In San Antonio and other spots, so I don't want to use San Antonio, but in other spots, it's like 50% is where they got to be. I'm like, dude, how big of a discount do these guys want? But that's their market.
Right.
3, because we never go on appointments because they're virtual, like sellers and have more fallout. They're less trusting, even though you have a contract. So there's just like all these problems. So then I'm like, okay, we know the marketing works everywhere. Let's like go back to Vegas, where we know for sure, like we can go on appointments, we know the values, we can close deals. So we went back to Vegas, and then sure enough, deal. And I'm like, man, okay, cool. So all we do is social media now. And the cost per lead is significantly cheaper. You know, it's like right now, 120 to 150 bucks, whereas before it'd be 500 to 800. You know, they're inbound leads. They want to sell.
Wow.
So then anyways, I'm telling all my students this over this like 5-month period of like R&D. And I'm like, and I'm just sharing with them every week, like the results. And finally, as they were getting there, they're like, dude, can you like do that in my market? And first it was, can you teach me? And I was like, not really, because there's just too much.
Yeah.
You'd have to learn this whole new skill set that's taken me years. And I have a massive team of editors, videographers, copywriters, media buyers. Like, you just don't have it. It doesn't make sense. Especially if you're going to go spend $5,000 a month. Like, it makes no sense.
Right.
So they're like, well, then can you just run it for us? And I was like, I never considered that. But how many of you would want me to run it for you? And these hands raised. I was like, anytime I've ever started a business is because I hear about demand.
Yeah.
And most of my things I start were problems I solve for myself. Like, I started a tax company because I couldn't find good tax. I sold it. I started social media for me because nobody was doing it. I had to build out my own team. There wasn't agencies yet. I started this for this very reason, right? So anyways, I go do a beta test with these guys. And I said, here's the deal. You're going to pay a retainer, but the retainer is going to be applied towards a profit split. So all I really want at the end of the day is 20% of the deal. We'll run my face, my ads, my marketing, everything. You don't have to do anything. My team will run them all in your market. You just tell us how much you want to spend. We'll run the ads. So, we started running ads, and they were spending $5,000, $10,000 a month just as a beta test. And dude, it was the same result. Like, the leads, the cost, everything was cheap. They're locking up deals. They're like, this is great. And I was like, all right, we're going to launch it. So I came up with the branding, all the crap that goes into building the business. And then sure enough, we launched it and we signed a bunch of clients, and now we're running ads and we're signing more clients. And, I really am excited about that business because one, it fills a massive need. People need leads. They always will need leads. That's never going away. Two, we're in an arena that nobody has figured out, specifically social media marketing. There are lots of direct mail companies. There's lots of PPC companies. Nobody has figured out social media marketing, and nobody has more credibility than me in that space. So it's like this massive opportunity of a new lead source for people. Three, it's freaking easy. Like when you look at TV and other stuff, it's like you got to go film a TV commercial. It takes like a month to get going because they got to go buy the ads, weeks in advance and all this crap. Bro, if we wanted to start in the Smokies, tomorrow we'll be in the Smokies. My ad will be there tomorrow in the Smokies, and you'll have leads. Like, nothing is as instantaneous as this. And then, 4 is just like, when you look at, for myself, building for an exit, it's like, oh, bro, like, there's recurring revenue. They pay a monthly retainer. Now, if they do deals, that retainer gets applied towards the profit split. So really, they don't. The retainer is only there for people who don't do deals, and it's like to protect us. And I'm like, bro, I could get hundreds of clients. Like, that's not going to be hard. And I think it will be our biggest business. And I think it took 10 years in the making to figure it out. Yeah. But the point with that, because you said the word MVP, and I was talking about just getting started and doing it. I started this journey last year when I built out my own marketing department because I got tired of agencies. I started running all my own ads for everything. Then that led me to getting frustrated with rising ad costs for the house flipping side. And so I start running them for myself, and I go through all this R&D and this trial and error and perfecting all these things. And then finally, we test it on, we don't even have a website or anything. It was like, all right, guys, you want to do it? All right, freaking, it doesn't have a name. Yeah. It's just like, I'm going to take 20% of whatever deals we help you get. And then we do it. And sure enough, then they get results, and it's like, dang, we got something here. All right, like, let's formalize this. And so it was a 6-month in the making thing, but it took me saying yes back there without not really knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah. So creative, man. And as far as the 20%, is that based off of a flip profit, or what's that based off of?
Yeah, flip or wholesale profit.
Flip
Yeah,
or
if somebody
wholesale.
wants to keep a rental, we just do like what the fair market wholesale would have been.
Gotcha.
Like, so if you kept it as a rent, you just wholesale it to yourself.
Give me an example of the average student or client that's putting $5K into marketing in this. How many deals are they getting?
It's literally impossible to say.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, we don't have enough data.
Right.
Right. I mean, we've only been doing it for at max 3 months for other
Gotcha.
people.
Okay.
And we know that with marketing, you need a 3 to 6 month cycle to really get data. So I don't want to say anything on that front.
Yeah, sure.
The other thing is every market's different. So like, dude, we had one guy in St. Louis. His name's Eunice. He got 8 deals in his first month. It was crazy. I'm not saying anyone's going to get 8 deals. I was like, what the heck? And he's like, he's 22. I'm like, this kid is a killer. Now he's in our program. So like he's smart and he's in it. But I was like, you got 8 deals? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. But his deal size is smaller. He's in St. Louis.
Yeah.
But if my other guy in California gets 1 or 2, he could beat more.
Yeah.
Right. So like every market's going to be different.
Yeah.
His leads are going to cost less than the guy in California's leads are going to cost.
Right.
So there's lots of variables.
Yeah.
And really, let me just preface this. If anybody wants to do it, one thing I'll say is you better be good at sales, because my number one pet peeve with people, especially with lead generation companies, is they're like, the leads suck. This is everybody. I don't care where the lead comes from. And the truth of the matter is, most people just suck, not leads. Now, there are lead companies that suck, and don't get me wrong, but in most cases, they have a sales problem.
Yeah.
And I uncovered that during our beta, even with good people, because now since I'm going off of a 20% split, I'm like, hey, you got all these leads. Why haven't you got a contract yet? And then you uncover they're not hitting their leads enough. They're not going on appointments. There are people, they're literally saying, yes, I want to sell my house, but I want market value. And they say that's a bad lead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, anyone who wants to sell their house, I don't care what they say they want. That is a very qualified lead.
Yeah.
You need to go to their house and go find a solution.
Yeah.
And dude, I can't tell you how many houses and appointments we've gone on where like want market value. You get there, they take a low offer because the house sucks.
Yeah.
Right. I can't tell you how many people we end up doing an innovation with, or how many we just get the listing and it's like, that's money. Okay, look, you truly do want market value. Like, let's list it. All good. We'll go make 10K, 20K.
Yeah.
And so I think in most cases people have a sales problem.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody wants a shortcut, right? If they don't get the shortcut, a lot of people, like the majority of people, don't want to put in the work to get the result that they want.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot tell you how many people that have come to me for coaching or consulting, and I work with them one-on-one, come up with a plan, and then they don't do anything.
Right.
It's like the people that are actually out there making progress, building wealth, building assets, asset portfolio, they're actually out there doing stuff.
Yeah.
They're making mistakes. They're active, right? You got to get active or else you're not going to get the results you want.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your faith and your belief system that has, and how that shaped everything you're doing with your businesses and your life.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up as a Christian. My parents, I always went to church. I was in Sunday school. I got baptized when I was 18. I don't have a crazy testimony about rebelling and going nuts. I was always very like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to try and do things the right way to the best of my abilities. And, that's why we got married young. And even since then, right? Like my wife and I, Mindy, have always tried to put God first in our marriage and in the business and how I operate. And so, it's clearly defined how I see business and life. And so, in my book, The Wealthy Way, I talk about this and I'm like, dude, I work from 9 to 5. That's when I work, Monday to Friday. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I don't work. And they're like, did you really build it that way? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. And actually, I've probably built it working less, because I was playing baseball and I was coaching baseball and, all these things. I golf a lot now. So it's like, one day I do want to look, and we'll see where all this leads one day. Maybe I'll sell Lead Kitchen for like $100 million. And then I'll be like, you could go look at my stories and see what I was doing every day.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see. But my point is, faith is what defined that, because I knew I wanted to put my family and God first. And so I understand. I love to work. Okay. People don't know, like, I love to work. It is a sacrifice for me to not work. Right. But I love my family and I love God more. And so, you know, I want to get home. I want to have dinner every night. I want to put my kids to bed. I want to be there for them. I want to hang out with my wife. I want to do all these things. And then before work, I want to still do all these other things. I want to spend time with God. I want to work out. I want to play golf. So I get all this stuff done every single day. You know, the first part of the day is for me. So I wake up at 5:30, spend an hour with God, spend an hour working out, go hit some golf balls, and then I get to the office. Then from 9 to 5, my wife, no one bothers me. I'm just here working. I'm going to be present. I'm going to do everything possible to just do whatever's going to make us the most money. Literally. That's how I look at it. I'm like, what's the highest ROI of my time? I'm here to work. I'm not here to go mess around and talk to people and just waste time. I'm here to go make money. When I get home, I'm here to be with my family. And then, you know, on the weekends, it's literally just family time and God time. You know, we go to church on Sunday. We swim. We go, I don't even know what we do. We just hang out, you know? So anyways, that's just how I've designed my life around faith. And, you know, even with the company, as I've grown more bold in my faith the last couple of years, like, you know, I really felt the calling from the Holy Spirit to be even more bold. And it happened at a wealth con about almost 2 years ago, where this girl asked me, she was like, Ryan, because I was always bold on social media, but it like went to a whole new level in the last couple of years. And this girl asked me, she was like, Ryan, you know, I really look up to you as an entrepreneur who, you know, is bold in their faith. But I have a question for you. Who do you look up to? And I was like, like as an entrepreneur? I was like, because I look up to like a lot of pastors and everything else, but I was like, I can't say there's one person that like on social media, which she was asking me, that I would look up to. There's a lot of great Christian business owners. People just don't know them. But I was like, yeah, I can't say that I actually know of one that I would look up to and say, man, dude, the way they do it on social media, the way they do it in their business, the way they care about their family, like they're checking the boxes, and I really look up to them. I could not name one. And it was at that point, God was like, exactly. And it became clear, and like the saying now that kind of defines our ministry with Wealthy Kingdom is like, he told me, he said, if not you, then who? And I was like, wow. Yeah, if I don't do this, then who is? And so it just became clear that I was going to have to step up even more in faith. And so it went beyond just talking about God and mentioning him in a podcast. It went beyond just like, yeah, everyone at the office knows I'm Christian. Yeah, we have our Bible study every Wednesday, and like anyone can go. It was like, what does the next level look like? And like essentially God was telling me, when are you going to build something where I'm not just like a part of it, but solely for me? And that was what changed. And I was like, wow, it's not enough to just incorporate him into, like, that's stage one. Like if you're a business owner listening to this and you're not bold about your faith yet, you're not incorporating him into your business and your family, cool. Like do that first. But stage two was like, man, what are you going to build for me specifically? And that's when I was like, wow, I got to build this thing. I didn't know what it was going to be. And, you know, inevitably it became what is our now nonprofit with Wealthy Kingdom. And we launched Bible studies worldwide. So we have over 50 now, Bible studies in offices and homes. And I want to have over 1,000. You know, we just held the Kingdom Summit last week, almost 1,000 people there. And an unreal experience. 100 people gave their life to Christ. And just countless stories over the last year of people doing this. And like I've even seen in my own company's transformation, you know, people getting baptized, just the culture shifting dramatically. And even after the summit last weekend, I was just like, man, what's next? You know, because this is just the beginning.
yeah, God will make the impossible possible. Like, there is nothing impossible with God. Like, he can use whomever he wants for whatever he wants. Like, I think about Moses, when he called Moses to lead the people out of Israel, out of Egypt, the Israelites.
Yeah.
And Moses said, I'm not able, I'm not a good enough speaker. God's like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's not about you, and making money's great and all, but we all know we don't take any of that with us, right? It's about what God wants us to do with our lives, and you said early on in this conversation, you felt like God put it on your heart to go into real estate.
I didn't want to know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do social media either.
I'm following God's prompting on my heart doing this media stuff. Like, sometimes I don't want to do it either, but having conversations like this fills me up. I love it. And just watching what God's doing through you in your business, like, keep going. You got great things ahead of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And, all those people giving their life to Jesus, man, that's amazing. It's amazing. And I was actually talking to Sean Kennel at their recent event. We had a worship time at his event, and I think it was like four more people gave their life to Jesus, and I was like, man, this whole thing's worth it.
Yeah,
it's all worth it. I mean, if nothing else, like, you change 4 people's lives.
Yeah,
and so when you're purpose driven, it puts a different set of it gives you different eyes for what's going on. So. Anyway, man, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
This has been great. I really appreciate your time so much, you sharing about your life, your businesses. It's been awesome watching this all evolve. It's been 5 years and all this stuff. I mean, from you flipping some houses to, like, building all these businesses, like, what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? It's going to be crazy.
I have no idea. We'll find out.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. And until next time, it's been fun.
Thanks, man.